we finally got to know the loot for Zul Gurub. We did Zul Gurub on the PTR the other day, but sadly all the loot was disabled, so we had to wait until WoW had data mined it, and they did. So let's take a look at it. Okay, that's interesting. They are putting some Warlock gear. I think it's pretty neat. I think Warlocks have the hardest time trying to get a set going. This one right here, Blood-Tinged Kilt, it has extra armor on it, 20 stamina. That's pretty nasty. I mean, it was always gonna be a Warlock item just because high stamina caster loot is warlock items. Now, Blood-Tinged is a part of a whole set, even though it doesn't have a set bonus. Here are the gloves. Let's see, for example, this one. Okay, this one doesn't have extra armor on it. 1% hit and 23 spell power is pretty much the same item as before. So yeah, one thing that's really getting to me right now in Zul Gurub is that, first of all, Zul Gurub loot was always very good. But this is almost the same. They just added like 5 more spell power to every item though. Hexer's Cover, that's the mask, you know, the Mojo mask thingy from Zul Gurub. Once again, just a little more spell power. Okay, I'm just gonna keep skipping here until I see something that is interesting. Okay, this is a little interesting. They are making it so your healing, your spell power and healing are different here. Like in TBC, you see healing spell power to 75, but you also get normal spell power by 25. I wonder how the mage healer is gonna scale with that. That's kinda... That could become a little busted. I hope they thought about that. Same with ritualistic leg guards. As you can see right here, they increase the healing and the spell power on it. So healers are not gonna be absolutely useless for DPS now, which is kinda cool. That should have been the... I wish they would have done this on SoD a lot earlier, guys. A little bit more stats. Blood Wrench Mask is pretty much the same item, just 35 agility. That's nutty. Of course, this one is going to be very good for leather users because they don't have access to the Lionheart Helm, and 2% hit is a lot of hit. And this right here, Lizard Scale Eye Patch, is just a better version of Ren's Eye Patch from UVRS. As you can see, it is 2% crit, 54 attack power, and 21 stamina. That's gotta be best in slot for almost everybody. 2% crit is a lot of crit. There's another 2% crit helmet right there, and this one is actually one that everybody's gonna want. 2% crit, man. Even with the intellect, you can ignore that. 2% crit, man. Red Paladins, looking at you. They also put attack power on the rest of the set here, Bloodstained set. There is so much crit in Zul Gurub loot. 1% crit and 1% crit. I mean, if you do not need a set bonus, there's a lot of these pieces that are going to be best in slot. Anything with 2% or even 3% crit on it, we're going to see a couple of those items too. For most classes at this point in the game, once they get their hit cap and they get a decent amount of like intellect or attack power or whatever, stacking crit is a really good idea. These caster legs for shamans, 1% hit, 1% crit and 35 spell power. That's nasty right there. Okay, we got a lot of tanks in the audience here. Let's take a look at the tank set right here. The Blood Soaked set. Leg plates, 10 defense, 36 strength. Wow, this is very underwhelming. Yeah, I do not like this one at all. So yeah, compare this one. 10 defense, 36 strength, and you get here 1% hit, 27 block value. Block value is very valuable for your threat because Shield Slam, believe it or not, is actually a lot of damage, even though it's not as good as attack power anymore. Okay, it's still really good. 13 defense against 10 defense, 6 strength, and this one is 36 strength. Yeah, unless you're doing Glad or something like that, like why would you take this? Yeah, this is definitely not better. Of course, Zul Gurub is intended as a catch-up raid. It's intended as something you do on the side, especially for new characters, so you can get to pace with everybody else quickly once VWL comes out. So I can understand why they don't want to make every item better or as good as tier 1. Even still though, that doesn't feel like a... This feels like a Cataclysm item, you know? Like in Cataclysm you get an upgrade and all you get is like, oh yeah, you hit a little harder, that's it, that's Cataclysm items for you. Let's see, Paladin gear here, very crappy, pretty much the same items. They added defense on the shoulders, that's pretty good. Okay, take a look at this one. They removed 1% dodge chance of the gauntlets for the tanking set and they gave you block value instead. I mean, that is a threat buff for you. That for both paladins and warriors, block value will give you threat. Yet it still, for some reason, feels like a nerf. I don't know. Sacrificial gauntlets, these are definitely gonna be best in slot right there. This is one of the items you gotta look out for. 1% hit, 1% crit. Once again, anything with hit and crit at the same time or 2% crit, that's almost always best in slot in this tier. Really nasty gauntlets right there. Everybody's gonna want a pair of these ones. Oh, look at this one for red. They are making some red special items right there. 1% crit and damage with holy spells and effects. I mean, it's not like a super important item spell power for paladins, but it will give them damage. I don't know, I think it's kinda cool that they get their own little item, even if they are never gonna use it. And the glaives are also the same, 1% crit and holy damage. That's kinda odd. Is it like intended for like a Shokadin build? I could totally see like a Shokadin PvP guy doing something like that. And finally the boots, they added block value on them too. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a decent set. If I didn't have tier 1 I would use it, but I would never sacrifice my 6 set for this. That's for them sure. I mean, it would suck if they made it so you need a set bonus for this stuff, because this is obviously just like a supplement to your tier 1 grinding and your tier 2 grinding, but it feels kinda weak. Okay, let's take a look at the rings. There is a lot of really good rings in Zul Gurub. People are gonna fight over those a lot. 44 healing, I think this is as good as the ones in Molten Core. Take a look at that one. Band of Servitude is 26 spell power. That's also, I think, not nearly as good as the ones in Molten Core, because the ones in Molten Core got a similar amount of spell power and crit, if I am not mistaken. I am sorry, I haven't played a caster in a while, but that's probably not very good. This one is absolute crap right here. When you can get a ring with hit and or crit and I think 30 attack power you can get in Molten Core. The Quick Strike, how much is Quick Strike? So yeah, here you see 1% crit and 36 attack power compared to this 46. 1% crit is way better than 12 attack power for pretty much any class. Okay, wow. Take a look at this one. Oh, that's busted as hell. 2% hit, 11 spell power. This, at least for Warlocks, looks absolutely bonkers. Soul Corruptor's Necklace. Oh my lord, people are gonna be running Zul Gurub forever. This is probably better than anything in Blackwing Lair too. Warlocks need a lot of hit, guys. I mean, Mages got it a little easier, and Boomkins, of course. Boomkins are gonna love this. They are always out of hit. Oh, jeez. And the necklace is such a good one to swap too, because there is nothing that very good for them, except if you're like shadow damage, you can get a good shadow necklace. But everybody else, just look at this one. Okay, Soul Corruptor's Necklace, definitely gonna go on the super must-have list. I think we're not gonna have a shortage of casters doing Zul Gurub then if we got this item. That's a huge buff. This is like 3 times the stats. Okay, the Eye of Hacker, you get 1% crit and 46 attack power on the necklace. Once again, there are several necklaces that are better than this, and they all got crit on them. Some of them got 2% crit on them, so yeah, that's not very good. It's decent. Definitely usable for a new character, but not great. Not good at all, actually. Okay, let's take a look at the Overlord set for the rings here. You gotta get 2 rings. So this one gives you block value and defense, and the other one gives you 2% block chance and defense, and more defense on the 2 set. Now, if you get the 2 set, it's actually quite a lot of attack power. 7 plus 9 plus 8 from the bonus times 4, because you get 4 times the attack power when you shield slam, remember? That's 96 attack power. That's nothing to sneeze at, guys. Okay, if you can get both the rings, I think individually they are not worth it, but if you can get both the rings, 96 attack power and a lot of defense and a lot of block value and block chance and a decent amount of strength and agility and stamina on them, yeah, the Overlord set is definitely gonna be worth it, at least for a warrior. I can totally see how like Shaman or a Paladin would really like it too. So yeah, if you can use a shield and tank, that's probably the one for you. Then you got the Primalist set. The Primalist seal gives you 29 healing spell power, just the same as before, and you also get the other one here, the Band. It gives you 15 healing power, and the set bonus is 33 healing power, 77 spell power. Actually it's not a lot. Yeah, probably not worth it even for the 2 set. Okay, let's take a look at the caster one right now. Okay, the 1% hit already makes it a very good ring here, and there's 16 spell power, just a little bit more. Now the counterpart, the Band, is 1% more hit and 18 spell power on top of that. So you can get 2% hit of your rings, and casters usually rely on the rings to get hit, so that's great. And they get 1% more hit, so we're talking 3% hit from 2 rings. That's amazing. And 6 more spell power. Yeah, okay, this one is actually amazing. Sunseal Seal, I think everybody's gonna want those two. So once again, Zul Gurub is caster CD apparently. All the exciting stuff is for casters here. Okay, Bando Jin, this is for DPSers. Melee DPSers right here, they get one with 1% hit and 19 agility, and the other one is another 1% hit, 24 attack power, and the set bonus is 30 attack power. It is barely better than the one you can get from the incursions and stuff. I don't even remember the name of the one you can get in Sunken Temple. Is it that you get 1%? You can also get Don Julio's, which is 1% hit, 1% crit. Quick Strike is also better. Definitely decent, but not even as good as tier 1. So We're gonna probably skip that one entirely. Oh, take a look at this one. 50 mana every time you deal damage on this trinket. That sounds pretty scary. Do we got any info on the duration? Okay, you summon spiders with it. That's kinda funny. 20 seconds. Okay, so I am not sure if it will cap out at 5 because it says calls 5 spawn of High Priest Marley here, but it says 20 seconds here. And the old one was also timed where it said here. It was every 5 seconds for 30 seconds, so it was 6 times. If they did cap it, it is less mana than the old one, so that's gonna be pretty useless. 5 times 50, 250 mana on use, that's nothing. That's a potion, I think. However, I think by the wording, it's probably everything you can do for 20 seconds. That's probably what they are saying. I don't know. It's either gonna be the most busted trinket on the game or the most useless. And also, speaking of the most broken trinket in the game, you guys probably know this one, Nat Pagol's Reel. The reason that people remember this item is because in Nax Ramas, where you couldn't have a taunt resisted, this trinket would save you the need from getting the tier 3 piece set bonus. So warriors would actually go ninja it from casters and it was a whole thing. Basically, the old one, you would pop it and you would get 10% more hit for 15 seconds, which wasn't very useful for casters, of course, because you're not gonna be capped the whole time. It is not efficient. You probably just wanna get capped on your own and get like a spell power trinket or something. However, this is an epic now. And take a look at the wording. Take a look at the wording here. Instead of on use, it says equip. Increases your chance to hit with all spells and attacks for 15 seconds. Is this gonna be a proc or is it just like a wording issue here? Yeah, I don't see a cooldown anyway. And if you look at that, your melee range is bugged. It actually gives you 11% instead of 10. So yeah, I think this is a bug. I think this is just like from the PTR. They pulled the wording wrong. This has gotta be an on-use effect. I mean, how else could it work? Like a proc-on effect every time you throw a spell? That's probably not it. Very well, now the exciting part. Let's talk about the weapons. Oh yeah. Now if we take a look at the Tekal set, this one looks the same as the one in Sunken Temple, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pretty similar. I think this is the same model. So the main hander, it has a not great 49 DPS. That's gonna be, it's very slow, so that's good for most DPSers. But 49 DPS, how much is Empyrean Demolisher? 48 DPS. So yeah, it's about as good as the best in slot weapon that you can get right now. The proc chance you get here, it has a cooldown that is like 3 freaking years. What is this? 1.2 minutes. But 300 attack power is nothing to sneeze at, of course. And 1% crit, of course. Decent weapon, not as good as Empyrean in my honest opinion. And if we take a look at Arlocks, that's the offhand. 46 DPS, nothing terrible, but nothing good. It has a proc of doing some damage on it. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, if you can get them, they are gonna be decent for you, but they are not something you wanna really farm for. Absolutely not. You just go to Molten Core, do your Kazakhs, and just pray. That's the way I would do it. Very well, now we got the Fang of Enoxis. That's a caster weapon. They put more spell power on it. Decent weapon. How is the Mage Blade in comparison here? 1% crit and more spell power. So yeah, not great, but definitely best in slot before Molten Core or something like that. And the Mage Blade is pretty hard to get because everybody wants it and it's kinda rare. So a lot of people are gonna like this item. This offhand has 1% crit and 20 spell power on it. That's pretty good. The Hexer. Wow, they put even more healing power and 1% crit on it. Healers are gonna love this one. Paladins are gonna absolutely wanna get as many of these as they can. Tigul's Harpoon, I imagine this is a reference to Tigol, you know, Jeff Kaplan, the guy that made TBC. 2% hit, 140 attack in Cat Bear and Dire Bear form, and 99 attack power when fighting beasts. That's gonna be so busted. I actually got a question now, because the bosses do turn into animals, right? Most of the bosses in Zul Gurub. Are they technically a beast when they transform? Because then that's gonna be super busted, dude. 100 attack power? Mad, dude. I mean, honestly, even if you're a hunter, 2% hit, I mean, come on, man. Pitchfork of Madness, it is 140 when fighting demons. Are there demons in Zul Gurub? I don't think there are. And 140 attack power, yeah, this is crap. This one is useless. Wheel of Arlok. I remember this one being very good. Okay, I remember this stuff actually. Isn't this the Innervate stuff? Not the Innervate stuff, the Evocate stuff. So the Super Sweater mages in the game, they would actually farm this stuff in Zul Gurub, so they could swap into it before they evocated, because evocating vanilla scales of your mana region, so a lot of spirit means a lot of evocate, and they would just abuse that trick to get a little more mana when they evocated. Now you can get 200 spirit when you use it. Oh my lord. Okay, Whoever made this item, I gotta give them props because they definitely nailed the identity of this staff. The way I see it, you pop this thing on a 2-minute cooldown only, by the way, so that's very low. You equip this thing, you wait the 30 seconds until you can, of course, use it, because when you equip an item, you gotta wait 30 seconds. You pop it, and your evocate will get you full mana in like a tick. That's ridiculous, dude. Of course, for healers, this is also very good. Druids, priests, they love their spirit, and this will help them a lot too. But oh my lord, that's insane. Of course, Innervate also scales of spirit, so you all got that going on. There is also a 200 mace for... Why is there so much feral gear in this dungeon? It's not even good. Alright, Marley's Touch, that's a wand. They put spell power on it, very good. There is a tanking sword with 8 defense and 17 block value and 50 DPS. That's very high for a tanking weapon. It's kinda fast too, which now that they normalize Devastate, that's actually cool because that means more heroic strikes. And if you are running Flagellation like I run Flagellation, you're gonna be rage capped the whole time. So the faster the weapon, the better. So this is definitely something I'm gonna try to get because I still have not gotten my Empyrean yet, and chances are I never will. I kinda hate running Kazakh, honestly. Another polearm for druids. My god. I am gonna start pretending all these druid polearms do not exist now, okay? Okay, a Fury DPS was set here. 3 sword skill, 50 DPS, very good. That's a high one. And let's take a look at the other one. Okay, wait. Why are they called the same name in the set even though they are different weapons? So the main hander gives you 1% crit and 28 attack power and 51 DPS. Very fast though. This is very fast, so this might be intended for rogues, actually not for Fury Warriors. The offhand is also very fast, 50 DPS as I said, 42 attack power. Very good stats for this set right here. And 3 sword skill, your rune only gives you 5 2 swords. So that means this is gonna be a little helpful, not a lot, but it will give you more hit and it will push a little more dodge chance of the boss. So that's definitely something to consider. And a 2% chance for a Wind Fury, and the cooldown is only 100 milliseconds. Actually it says 1% here, so which one is saying the truth here? Are you lying to me, Blizzard? I mean, yeah, this is probably gonna be best in slot. If you're a sword rogue, absolutely you gotta go for this one. Pretty nasty. Okay, now we got the Hunter Bow. 11 agility, 8 stamina, and a proc that does 200 nature damage and 2 additional targets. It's a decent bow, but the stats are not good. Fango the Faceless, 51 DPS, once again very good numbers here. 1% crit, 28 attack power, and you can use it as a main hand or an offhand, so it's not gonna be best in slot, but it's gonna be almost as good, so every freaking rogue is gonna want one of these. There is also a gun with 32 attack power, pretty crap. It's very slow, so good for hunters. Once again, 40 DPS, wow, yeah, this is gonna be really strong. Then there is a one-handed axe with 51 DPS and a crappy proc. It's way too fast too, so maybe as an offhand it will kinda work. Then you got a Blood Collar, that's a sword for casters with 41 spell power. That's decent, that's a previous item worth of stats. Then you got Ages of the Blood God. Finally we get a new shield here. 27 block value, 7 defense and 2% chance to block. Paladins are gonna love this one. There is this caster staff here with 2% hit and 41 spell power. This looks like a Boomkin staff, honestly. Wushola's Poker is now an epic one with 44 healing and 6 mana. Daggers. Who can use daggers? Healer mages? Druids? I don't know, it kinda seems like a weird choice. Why wouldn't you make it just like a mace or something? The Hoodoo Stick, that's probably the one that's intended to go with this one. That's gonna be the offhand. 1% crit and 35 healing. That's a pretty nasty combo. Okay, they did actually make a mace too. It's about the same, 44 spell power. Yeah, there is a mace alternative for the healing dagger. The same thing, 44 spell power for healers. So paladins are also gonna get one, I guess. That's cool. This mace is useless. Zulian Slicer, okay, that's an iconic weapon right there. It sucks. Oh lord, it sucks so much. But you can use it for skinning, so you need it for skinning bosses. 10 skinning ability right there, so it's still gonna be there if you want it. I don't need it. Blaze Fury got changed into like spell power. Why would they put spell power on this sword? 2 fire damage on your melee attacks. Oh no, not 2 fire damage. They reduce the DPS on it too. Is this like a prot paladin weapon? Something weird like that? Why would they do it like this? Yeah, this is gonna be pretty useless, I think. Yeah, all these caster spell power weapons are crap. This one is also useless. Zulian Defender is now a caster shield, so shamans are gonna like that one, I guess. Okay, 200 axe, Zulian Stone Axe, intellect, crit, attack power. That's gonna be like a decent shaman one, even though they got way better options in Molten Core. Grillex Carver, 141 attack power when fighting Dragon King. Wow, you know what? That's pretty cool. For Blackwing Lair, 141 attack power is, yeah, people might use this one if you wanna be like a complete tryhard and swap. half the bosses in Blackwing Lair, way more than half actually, almost all of them, are Dragon King. Yeah, I can see where this could work. 140 attack power is pretty high. So yeah, we're probably gonna see some shamans use this one in BWL, that's kinda cool, even though very situational of course. And finally the Tot Blighter, that's a 1, this is gonna give you 15 healing power and 5 mana per 5 seconds. I mean, for a healer that's as good as it's gonna get, isn't it? So yeah, as you can see, all the healing in Zul Gurub, all the off pieces, they are about as good as Molten Core loot, a little worse most of the time. Some of them are busted, a couple of them are very busted. We gotta wait until the class sets come out, and there's gonna be some class sets that are gonna be very good because the set bonuses were very good back in the day. But for the most part, Zul Gurub is essentially what it's always been, just a raid for catching up with everybody else. It will not replace Molten Core. Molten Core is still there to stay. There is a lot of items from Molten Core that are gonna be best in slot in BWL too. We have not seen the BWL loot yet, but yes, if you are a new character, if you're just starting out again now, and you wanna get ahead quickly, Zul Gurub is gonna be the best opportunity for you. If you've been farming for a while, it's probably gonna have like 1 or 2 items and that's it for you. And I think the hard reservation, people are just gonna reserve them. So if you wanna get these items, you're gonna probably have to start your own group for them, because that's what happens when there's only like 1 or 2 good items in it. People hard res it and you're screwed. It's only a 10-man, so it should be pretty easy to get done anyway. But that's what I would do if I were a caster right now, because casters are gonna poke their eyes out against each other just to get some of this stuff. Melees, there's nothing good really. But what is your opinion on this loot? Do you think it's undertuned? I think it's a little undertuned, honestly. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.